Global Indian Network. Print, TV, events, podcasts. Find out more at globalindianseries.com.
Politics. Look at our leaders, not just in one direction, as in what we are getting from them, but what the community will get from them. As entrepreneurs, only think of making the country do well. Because if the country does well, we will all do well. Once it does well, you have no politician to go and ask for any favor. You have nobody to go and ask for any favors because things are going to be moving.
Welcome to the Global Indian Podcast, home to the greatest conversations and the official platform for people of Indian origin. Yes, let's face it, we are everywhere. Now, you know, on our weekly show, we plunge into the human experience of being a person of Indian origin, take a second look at the countries we now call home, and tackle the big conversations. Now, in this episode, I travel to the island of paradise that is Saint Lucia to meet with the wonderful Rayneau. Now, Rayneau is one of the leading entrepreneurs of this paradise country, and we have an open discussion to have a look at what life's like for him, a person of Indian origin living in the tropics, and more so about some of the key issues that he wants you to know. This podcast was recorded prior to the elections. We elected to only showcase it afterwards for obvious reasons. It is a very powerful sentiment to a world that most people really don't know much about, but more importantly, it shows a very human side to an entrepreneur who's made a world of difference to the country. If you like the work that we do and you want to get involved, well, it couldn't be easier. Simply go to our website, which is www.globalindianseries.com. There you can listen to this podcast and the entire repertoire of conversations so far. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all our dear supporters and sponsors, many of which you'll hear from soon. I hope you enjoy this session.
Hi, my name is Divya and I'm co-founder of the Global Indian Podcast. Before you get to today's show, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you've been enjoying our conversations, I'd love if you could take just 1 minute to leave us a review on the platform that you're listening to us on and share our work to friends and family. It helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is the primary way that we grow. Thanks for your continued support.
Hi, my name is Nestor Alfred, CEO of Saint Lucia Citizenship by Investment. Think freedom. What comes to mind? Freedom to explore, to travel to any destination for work or play? Or is it freedom of expression? Being surrounded by the globally minded, those who care for society and environment. Every year, people from around the world apply for Saint Lucian citizenship because they realize that real freedom is based on choice. Discover more about Saint Lucian citizenship and how it's helping global Indians achieve more.
Hello. My name is Daniel Trassa, and I'm Dean of Nova School of Business and Economics in Carcavelos, Portugal, one of Europe's leading business schools. I'm proud to be of Indian origin, and I invite you to discover these podcasts, which will look to redefine the impact that Indians and their descendants are doing all over the world. In behalf of Nova School of Business and Economics, I wish you a great 2021.
My name is Chitra Stern, and I am a proud Global Indian Ambassador and CEO of Martinal Resorts and Martinal Residences. We pride ourselves on the journeys that define a community, and our developments bring people together. Did you know that over 70,000 people just like us call Portugal home? The Global Indian journey has brought people together in a meaningful way, and on behalf of all of us at Martinal, we want to thank you for joining us in these remarkable conversations. We look forward to seeing you here in Lisbon post-COVID. Have a great day.
And just move. Get up 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 and just.
Absolute pleasure to have you on here, all the way from the beautiful country of Saint Lucia. I know that I myself am feeling jealous. I'm looking at my grey skies here in London, and I can see almost, there you go.
It's really, Saint Lucia is really, really nice.
As a way of introduction, you are one of the leading entrepreneurs on the island. but for me, you have this remarkable backstory on how you got into entrepreneurship and also the way you look at life, the way that communities come together. So I suppose the first question is, what's it like to be you?
Well, let me tell you, you know, it's a good question. And if I ask myself that question, sometimes I wonder because of how I have basically um, found myself in terms of being financially able or the perception that people have of me. I need to be super careful about what I say, what I do, how I say it, and how I do it. So, in a lot of situations, I cannot even really be myself because people look at you and people judge you and people judge themselves. So basically, I need to always make sure that I am an example. Now, we are not perfect. Sometimes we go off, but I need to make sure, or I try to make sure that I am an example.
So what, because are you saying that almost being a product of your own success has come with a disadvantage of public opinion?
You see, the thing about it is, basically any one of us, whether you become an accountant, a judge, a lawyer, once you become to a certain level of success, people expect of you certain things, and we must play that role as well, because we are what I call an example. So I need to be that example that people expect me to be. However, it needs to be measured. And generally, when you grow up, you're one thing. And then as you move along, you adjust to what it is. So the answer to that is I always have to be, or I always try to be what is expected of me.
So I suppose I feel like we're speaking in poetry here. What is it that people expect from you then?
Yeah, the way you behave in public,
Yeah.
the things you say, how you treat your workers, how you treat other people. As you go along, people expect that if they ask you, they expect that, oh, you're in a better position than me, so you're supposed to give. One needs to be very careful how you answer those things, whether you give, whether you don't give. And you need to make a stand. For me, in this, I have always made a stand where I give back to communities. I don't give back to people personally. So, everybody wants something. Everybody thinks that you're in a position you could give them. And I don't do that. I have not done it. And what I do is give back communities. However, where I am now, I don't know if we could look back behind me. I don't know if you see a school in the back of me.
I can see a beautiful school there, just amongst the trees.
The colors of that school, right, are my corporate colors, which is a beige and orange kind of color.
Yeah.
You can recognize it, right? This is a school that I took on and I refurbished, painted, and maintained. This is one of about 8 schools that I do in Saint Lucia.
Oh, wow.
And I do the complete schools. And why do I do it? It's because when you maintain a school and when you cause somebody to get educated, you don't educate any one person, but you educate a country, you educate a community. And those are the type of things that I do.
Because
I just happen to live right next to the school, but that's only recent. That only recent about a year ago. But I had done that school about 10 years ago.
Wow. Because I was going to say, your personal background, your voyage for entrepreneurship was not an easy one, because you went to school almost in the middle of nowhere. You lived almost in the middle of nowhere in the interiors of Saint Lucia. Why don't you tell us a bit about your personal background and how it all started off?
My dad used to be working for the government. he was actually what we call a forest officer. So he was in charge of the forests in St. Lucia. And we lived in the center of the island. There was no electricity, there was no water. There was a little road, but we lived. We had farms and we did very well. Living, I saw nothing wrong with it. When you go to the city or into the towns, it appears that you're a country boy or you came from the country, but that didn't really change us or affect us because we lived well.
Yeah,
I think we even actually lived better than many because all our food was directly from the ground. We had animals, we had cows, so we had fresh milk every day, and it was good. I can't say we had a problem, but the average person would believe that we had a problem.
yeah. And when did the entrepreneurship bug take bite? Because you got this incredible story of how you came across an older gentleman.
I think I was born with it. I think I was born with it, and I'll tell you why. From very, very young, I would plant flowers in little plastic pots, grow them, and go by the road to sell them. So I remember myself planting flowers. Actually, my hands do very well with flowers. Some people can plant stuff and it won't, but mine does very well with flowers. So I planted flowers and I started selling them. And I would sell like oranges or fruits by the road. But at that time, you sell not realizing what this does to you. Yeah. And basically, I think it grew in me. And as you got older, and older was not very old, older was like 10, 11. For me, I never liked school. I always wanted to make money. But I just never liked school. So I never did very well in school. I did okay just to pass, but I never excelled in school. But my mind was always thinking about how do I make $1? So even during school, this was all what it was about, me making $1. And when I left school, what happened to me was I could not find a job. Now, in saying all of this, right, I remember myself going to school with the offspring of a Syrian who came to Saint Lucia with nothing. Or he claims he came to Saint Lucia with nothing. And his son, when I didn't have 10 cents, his son would come to school with $20. And I did not have 10 cents. And his dad was a really, really nice person. His mom was really, really nice. We would go to the house. They would take really good care of us. Really good care of us. And, I said to myself, if those people can come to St. Lucia with nothing and make it that they could give their son $20 to go to school when I had nothing, there's no reason why I can't make it here. And that was a really good motivation for me. So when I left school and I couldn't find a job, there was another friend whose mom had an ice cream machine. And I went to her and I said to her, Mom, why don't you give me that machine? Let me go and sell ice cream. And she looked at me like, oh, you just came from St. Mary's College. What are you telling me about you going and sell ice cream? And I tell her, yes. And she agreed. And she gave me the ice cream machine. And I started off selling ice cream. So that's the story. And from selling ice cream, the story just goes on and on and on.
Well, from selling ice cream, you've got a company that spans right the way across the Caribbean. So it's a huge turning point in your life. I suppose that identity of being an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you? Because I know when we spoke on the phone, you said, look, Rajan, I started off with ambition, making $1,000 a day. So I want
to... The thing about it is, when you start with nothing, one has to be very careful that as you start to gain a little more, that you don't allow it to go to your head and change who you are. Because you know, two things corrupts, power and money. And I had never allowed that to ever change who I am. I never allowed money. I never allowed, because you know, money actually comes with a little bit of power. And we need to be super careful how we manage it. And I never allowed that to change who I am.
I was going to say, do you think now, because I want to come back to that point, because that's looking at the way that businesses and politics interact. But the first part is, do you feel now that you can't stop working? Because it seems that you get an idea, you implement the idea and it grows. Have you awarded yourself the headspace to enjoy everything else around you now?
You see, that has become not a problem, but it has become a topic of discussion most times with many people.
Yeah.
Topic is because, again, people expect you to dress a certain way. They expect you to drive a certain type of vehicle. They expect you to have a certain kind of house. And they expect you to entertain a certain way. In a certain
manner, yeah.
Now, because I came from, say, nothing, during that time, entertaining, driving a fancy vehicle, being what we call extravagant, was never ever my style. That was never ever my style. And you know, through working hard from when you're young, what you become is a workaholic. Not realizing that you're a workaholic, but you become one. And certain things in life are not important to you. So all what is expected of me and how it is expected of me, those things are really not important. And you know, even if I have tried to make it important, it has become not me. I am not that person. So what do? I remain who I am. So I'm a very humble person. Fancy stuff don't impress me. They don't move me. So nice clothes. I mean, I have never bought a shoe more than, say, $20. Because it does not make me who I am. So the clothes that I wear does not make me who I am. Although the clothes that you wear tells a lot about you and it sends a message, but I am not the extravagant kind of person and I have not gotten there. So let's go back to the real question. The question is, has it changed me? What has it done to me? And what has happened to me is I've become a workaholic. So the only thing that I enjoy is work. So work is not a job for me. Work is fun. Work is the only thing for me that I enjoy. So what do? I am always at work. I always go out. I go to bed and I wake up in the morning wanting to do or complete what I was doing. And it's fun for me. Whereas work is like, oh my God, I have to go for somebody else. It is direct opposite for me.
Because it's who you are. It's a way of life, isn't it?
It's my way of life now. It is just my way of life. So in other words, when I became 32, at 32, I retired the first time. So I said I retired, meaning I had gone past where I ever dreamed that I could have been, say when I was 17 or 18. At 32, I had passed that by far. But then what do? Do you stop? Do you change who you are? Do you adjust who you are? And the answer is, I could not. Even if I wanted to, I could not. All I see was opportunity. So whenever an opportunity arises, and that opportunity, I mean, it's any business opportunity that I see, I jump for it. Now, I mean, I measure myself because you need to do whatever you have to do within yourself. I had so many opportunities where I could move to the US, move to Europe, move to Canada, countless opportunities. But I never did that And why I never did that was because I cannot handle the weather. I don't think living in those countries are really living. I think you're in a prison and the weather determines what you do, when you do, how you do. Look at me this morning. I'm out here, right? It's the most beautiful weather you could find. It's not very hot, it's not very cold. And I'm talking to you, Wi-Fi is great. I'm all over the yard and I'm having a great time. There's nothing for me to worry about. But, those things, I think when you come back to what means to you, that means more to me in terms of living than even making the millions and millions. Because had I gone to a bigger country, I think I would have done super excellent.
Do you think...
You were asking a question.
I was going to say, when you look at where Saint Lucia is now and where it's heading to, being an entrepreneur, being a person of the lands and being a proud Lucian, obviously you have the Indian heritage there, but your identity as a Saint Lucian, do you think Saint Lucia is heading into the right type of direction that you wish it to be? Because you're building schools, obviously you got this social consciousness about you. You're doing a lot for society, as you said at the beginning, that you don't help the individual, but you help the communities. Is it your role to do that? Or is it the role of governments?
That's the thing about it's the role of government. And I'm not building the schools, actually. I am maintaining them.
Yeah.
Because, governments get budgets, they build stuff, and they don't maintain it. So I'm basically maintaining it. Is it my role? Obviously not. It's not my role. But, as somebody doing okay, I think we need to give back. We must give back. Now, whether we give back because God says we have to give back, or whether we give back because we choose to give back, the answer is, if we have become fortunate enough to have a little extra, I think it is very important for us to give back. And giving back to me is not giving back handouts. It's not about handouts. That's not what it is for me. For me, it's giving back to communities, developing communities, making communities better. Handouts, I believe, do not make people better. What it does, it makes them lazier and worse because they become a community of stretching hands out. And that's not what I am for.
That's interesting. So then you're obviously strengthening up the communities there. And one thing that I like about the work that you do is that you do it without fear or favor, because you're saying the work that I do is for the communities of Saint Lucia. What do you think that means for the identity of Saint Lucia?
Saint Lucia is diverse in a lot of ways of how people see things. Now, when you live in, I consider Saint Lucia a small community. The whole of Saint Lucia is basically a small community.
Yeah.
And one needs to be very careful what you say. Like I said before, what you say, how you say, and how you take things. And we must not allow other people to determine what we do for our communities and what we do for them. Too many people only care about what's for them and not what's going to make a community, a country better. And because of that, we have a lot of failed states. That is why you have so many rich people in one, so little rich people and so many poor people rather. And it's because of the way we do things, what we do, how we do it, whether it's for our friends, do we consider others? And do I change it? I mean, the only way for me to change it majorly is for me to get into politics. But I'm not going to get into politics because I'm not a politician. I don't think I have the attitude for it. And I don't have the, what's the right word for it? The charisma and the patience, because it requires a special type of human being to be a politician. But that's not for me.
Do you
so I do the little that I can do.
I was going to say, if I read between the lines, do you feel the politics in the country needs to change then?
For you see, we say change, and we need to be very careful at
Yeah,
what
what
we
that
say.
means. Yeah.
You know, so let's go back and see what is good. Good is relative to what I believe is good, and bad is also relative to what I believe is bad. There will not be any government that is going to be good, because you're going to have 50% saying it's good, 50% saying bad. All depends on the benefits that we have. What I would like to say is I'd like to see some major adjustments how the leaders think and act. But if we were to say to change the government, I think we've done that too many times, and you get the same result. That's why they change the next 5 years again. So we need to go a little further and not just say change the government. We need to change the way things are done. What's going to change it? It's going to take a lot. I think that is a topic that has been discussed 2,000 years before I was born. And you know what has happened. So at the end of the day, I think we just need to do the little that we can do to make that change. And for me,
I was going to say, do you feel that the role of entrepreneurs now in Saint Lucia will be more important now than ever? Because it is, you're at this cusp.
You see, it cannot be more important now than ever. I think the level of importance always remain, and it will always remain the same. And the role of entrepreneurs is to develop a society where you could provide employment and opportunities for lesser fortunate people. That's what I think should always be. I don't think entrepreneurs should get into politics or get into, making those massive changes. We should concentrate on giving the people an opportunity to make a living. For me, the more people that I can employ, the happier I am. My happiest day in the months are when it's speedy. And you know why that is? It's because I see that I can provide to so many persons some small wage that makes a big difference. A difference that I could not make it that same amount of money. And when I say that, I mean that I know that the wage that I provide to some families, the difference it has made for them. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, I suppose there's one element that you spoke about before, and I found it fascinating, is the fact that, as people of Indian origin, we truly are everywhere. We're used to being nomadic. We go into one country, then we head out. But you said that even with the people that you employ, the moment you take somebody out of their normal country, their normal surroundings, they excel. And you can transplant them into another country across the Caribbean, and somehow they make it happen. Now, what is the secret to that success, in your opinion? What is it that makes people work harder?
This happened to me. It was not, I never intended for it to happen.
Yeah.
I never intended for it to happen. Lucia, while many of my workers will always encourage me to go to the other islands and expand, I was very comfortable here in Saint Lucia. And, 2.5 years ago, I had a great opportunity. And that opportunity was created by our Prime Minister, our current Prime Minister. Who is our current Prime Minister. And he provided me for a really great opportunity that I never saw. And that opportunity was after I had a meeting with him. And he said to me, Rayneau, you cannot get work in Saint Lucia. So my Prime Minister says to me, Rayneau, you cannot get work in Saint Lucia. And I said to him, Alan, you're joking. And I laughed it out. And he said to me, I'm serious. And I held nothing against him. I took it as a joke, and I went home. And you would not believe the difference that that has made in my life.
Hang on, I think we need to take a step back there, because you've led us down a path. What do you mean you cannot get? Was that a joke? Was that saying, well, you can't because you're too big, or?
No,
it's the behind that.
Listen to this. I think it's a perception again. You know, people perception of you, whether they believe you support them, you don't support them, or whatever the case may be. Whatever his reason was, I don't know his reason. I never asked his reason. And really and truly, I don't care about his reason. But what I could tell you is, I really appreciate him for that. Because he came out straight to me and he told me, Rayneau, you cannot get work. And those words had done so much to me that he himself will not believe the doors that he had opened up for me by telling me that. What happened? The next day, I went to sleep. I heard it. I didn't take it for anything because I do not ever take anything as negative. I always look out for the positive in it. And then the next day I woke up and I told one of my main engineers, who happens to be of Indian descent as well. I brought him in from India. I told him to go across to Dominica and see what's available there, because I was always being asked to come to Dominica. So 3 days later, he left and he came back and he said, yes, they said it's good, they're going to give us work. And the following week, I loaded up a barge with maybe $25 million worth of equipment out of Saint Lucia. I just loaded the barge, trucks, asphalt plant, concrete plant, new equipment, so much stuff I was put on the barge, and I just left for Dominica. Left without knowing where I was going and how I was doing it. And I said to the guy, when you get there, it's all going to work out. I said the worst that can happen is we have to come back with the badge.
Yeah.
That's what I said. They were all said. So I sent my young daughter. I sent 2 or 3 other guys from the office, but I myself never went. And we got into Dominica, and that is the history of what happened next. I am now the bigger contractor in Dominica by far. And that happened with the blink of an eye. In saying this, I moved into Guyana and we're doing very well. I moved into Antigua and I moved into St. Vincent. So right now, based on his words, I'm in Dominica as the bigger contractor. I'm in Guyana, fair size. I'm doing very well. I'm in Antigua and I'm in St. Vincent.
Wait, I suppose the question on top of my mind is, were you forced to expand? Were you forced to move out to St. Lucia, or were you... Because that statement there that was made, for me, listening to that from the outside in, mind you, obviously I'll be very ignorant on the current situation there, would be either one of, you can't work here because there's no growth, there's no business, or secondly, you cannot work here because you're not doing what the expectations are set. Like, which version of that is correct? Because I know you'll be a gentleman and you say, Rajan, I wouldn't want to answer either.
I can tell you that in Saint Lucia, no. In Saint Lucia, I am the better contractor.
Yeah.
I can tell you that in Saint Lucia, I am the better contractor. But whatever his reason was, I never asked his reason. I don't think it was important to me to know his reason. But what I can tell you, that whatever he said to me,
inspired, yeah.
Whether the word be inspires, created opportunities, I don't even know what the right word is. But all I can tell you, if there's one thing that I must appreciate him for, is for what he said to me.
Well, what are your...
because of what he said,
Yep.
I expected beyond I ever thought my abilities were.
Wow.
I got that opportunity and expanded and way, way, way more. Never imagined it, never thought of it. And, today I could tell you, sometimes people take things as bad. That was the best thing that he has done for me.
Well, what's
If he
your,
only,
I was going to say, what's your thoughts on, because you got the bit, I think you have elections coming up soon in Saint Lucia, in a matter of
yes,
only a couple of weeks. You're there sitting as one of the largest entrepreneurs in the country, if not now within the region. You've helped maintain schools, educate people, get them through society. You've obviously employed many hundreds of people right the way across the regions. What does these elections mean to the
yes.
people? Because we're talking at a time of COVID where the country is in desperate need for revenue replacement, where families are, I suppose, on the brink.
You see, I'll tell you something. We see elections, we see politics, and we see good as one thing. I think 80% of the population does not care if Ash Wednesday falls on a Friday. From what I see, most people only care about today.
Yeah.
They don't even think about tomorrow and the repercussions of what they're doing today for tomorrow. Yeah. So, in looking at it in broad terms, we need to be careful, because I think we, as thinking people, always make the decision for the people that are not thinking. And we base community and we base society based on what we want rather than what they want.
So then, what do you think these elections mean then in Saint Lucia at this moment in time?
Elections for everybody mean something different. If we look at the UK, Brexit, at one time everybody wanted it, and after they were going to get it, they didn't want it anymore.
It was a winner's curse, absolutely.
Right. So, elections and what people want at the time, I don't think people put enough thought into what they're doing and why they're doing. And what election does is they only compare a few things that the government does to make their decision. It's not a whole host of stuff. There's nobody that is perfect. So, let's compare. My thinking and the way I think is much different from many people. And I don't look at one bad thing that a guy does. If you look at my situation with our current prime minister, had I taken what he said to me as a negative, would it have turned into so many positives that I never imagined existed? Basically, all he did for me was open up those doors that I never even knew were even there, because I was never looking at for them. So we need to look at it in many different directions and look at politics, look at our leaders, not just in one direction, as in what we are getting from them, but what the community will get from them. As entrepreneurs, I think as an entrepreneur, for the benefit of an entrepreneur must only think of making the country do well. Because if the country does well, we will all do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not about whether the country needs to do well. Once it does well, you have no politician to go and ask for any favor. You have nobody to go and ask for any favors, because things are going to be moving. For me, I would like to ensure that every family has an income. And that income does not have to be a big income, but it has to be a steady income. And how do we create that? We create the opportunities for small people to create small businesses where they can employ their family members And even if they employed one additional person, but that is what I believe is going to make an economy grow. Not big business, not factory, not those massive things. It will happen automatically. But this should not be the emphasis. This should not be the focus. It should be the focus on any government supposed to be the middle to lower class. That's supposed to be the major focus to grow them. Once you have crossed the middle class, I don't think government should put much emphasis on you anymore. I think you're on your own and you need to develop yourself. We need to take people out from not the gutter, but from just once you're on the road. So we need to take you out from just that level to the middle class. And I think our economies are going to boost. And the reason I say not from the gutter is because, there are people who enjoy being there, that even if you try to take them out, that's where they go back to. So those people, there's nothing you could do with them. I would leave them alone because that is what they enjoy. I mean, like me, one can consider me in the gutter at my stage now. Because if you take me out and you put me in Europe or the US, China, Japan, because of the size economy, I can explode. I know I can explode. And because I'm a great risk taker, and I also think a lot, I know that I can explode. But the question is, am I satisfied with who I am? And the answer is yes. Somebody else may be looking at me and saying, oh, how much better that I could be doing, but I'm satisfied here. And we must also understand that people who are at the much lower levels, a lot of them are very satisfied and comfortable where they are. We are the ones who see a problem with it and try to take them out, but they don't really want to come out. And unless we understand that and appreciate people for who they are, people all the time, to try to make them who we are and not appreciate them for who they are.
I think that they're very powerful words. I think, Rayneau, for me, what's fascinating about you is coming from, as you rightly said, selling ice cream from the middle of the interiors to now looking at economic and societal change, showcases exactly what this human experience is. And the fact that you've been so down to earth and generous with your time with us is something that I do deeply, deeply appreciate. I think, I know we haven't touched upon it yet, but you're not defined clearly by an identity of skin color or an identity of ethnicity. You've defined yourself through your own experiences of saying, actually, I'm Saint Lucian, I'm here in this country, I'm here in this region, I'm Caribbean. What lessons do you think other people can learn from that? Because when you have a look at some of your neighboring islands where your skin color is almost a personal brand to not just politics, but to your lifestyle, you showcase in your own country that there's something more to that.
I think Saint Lucia, being in Saint Lucia, I'm very fortunate, as Saint Lucia does not brand ethnicity. What Saint Lucia does not see people as foreigners per se, or you're Indian, or you're Negro, or you're Japanese. It's going to be there slightly, but it's not a major issue. I have had absolutely no problems in my entire life being an Indian of minority. And when I say minority, I think we're only 1%, if so much, right? But we have had absolutely no problems. I grew up with the Negro people, and I do not see them as being Negro. I just see them as I don't even see myself as being Indian. Other people see me as being Indian, but I don't see myself that way because I grew up with them, and it's just one. The only difference is my hair. That's all it is. But there's no difference. I feel nothing different about them. We are as good as ever. So I could say that we are very happy about that.
Is that the same in other countries in the Caribbean?
No. However, when you go to Trinidad, it is very bad. And the politics of those islands, Trinidad and Guyana, it is bad. And when you go to those islands, what happens is I think the politics is what divides people. And that needs to change, because we cannot do without one another. We need to understand, no matter what level people are, we cannot do without one another. Until we start teaching in schools the importance of having a garbage collector and how important it is to have a garbage collector, until we start teaching the importance of those things, I don't think our mindset will change. Because the stigma associated with being a garbage collector, a mason, a carpenter, and those trades have done very, very bad to society, because it has created in our mind that this is not good, this is low. But could you imagine the world without garbage collectors? What we would have been in? We would have been a total garbage dump. But we have never brought out and made people understand the importance of the garbage collector. We have never made people understand the importance of being trained in a trade.
But is that because we undervalue people within those positions? Because ultimately we live in a world where we do need finances, and unless you're a garbage collector making the same money as hypothetically a brain surgeon, people are always going to want to go towards the upper echelons because of what it awards them to do.
No, but what happens is we have created that. But you know what it is? I can tell you today, a technical guy who repairs heavy equipment makes more money than a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what's going to happen with all the robots taking over jobs in factories? A technical person,
absolutely,
in a robot factory is going to be making more money. Did we ever teach our community that? What happens when you have a bus pipe? You're lost. You can't even figure out what has happened because we were never taught that. We were never taught to think of doing anything like that. All we have been taught to do is to pass an exam that we only use 5% of what we are being taught. That needs to change. And through your life, all your school, if you tell me that you use more than 5% of what you learned throughout your life, you are one of the fortunate ones, because I don't think we use more than 5% of all what we are taught. The field that you have gone into has nothing to do with what they taught you in school, or very little. However, you're sitting on a Zoom meeting with me. If something crashes, would you know where to go to fix it? Or would you have to call a guy? And the answer is you may be lost for an hour trying to figure out what's going on and scrambling, calling a guy, and all he has to do is to put a wire back into a plug hole. And those are the things that we need to look at more closely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to be more practical in the way that we live our lives and understanding every single role. We can't just almost subcontract that out, because it's part of being human, isn't it? It's I'm very fortunate. Obviously, my parents are where I was brought up. We learn how to fix things and move things, but I do get the metaphor behind that as well. What a fantastic conversation. I'm sure you agree. Raynau's one of those characters, as you can hear. He doesn't mince his words, does he? He makes it exceptionally clear how he feels about the situation. Now, since recording, the elections took place, and the former Prime Minister, Alan Chastanet, lost the elections. The new Prime Minister came in, and is a totally different political party. In fact, Saint Lucia has been a friend of ours for many, many a year. I've spent many months there throughout my voyages across the Caribbean, and it is, for me, one of the best locations there for a variety of different reasons. If you'd like to find out more about Saint Lucia, well, it couldn't be easier either. If you go to the website, we are going to be launching a Freedom page very soon. On that page, you'll have loads of details about the country, about things that you need to know, and more importantly, further communication about this incredible opportunity that is called Citizenship by Investment, whereby it enables global Indians to stay global. Watch this space to find out more. Until then, I hope all remains well, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the 50 Shades of Brown that is the Global Indian Journey.